Today, I want to talk about triggers and why it's so important to understand them to avoid conflict and step into connection. To navigate our partner, we really need a map of them, just like you need a Google Maps to find a destination. If you don't have a map, you'll blindly keep taking the wrong turn until you get lost and can't find your way home. With a map, you will get home faster and easier, and when you do get lost, it'll reroute you. To create the emotional map, we have to know our own and our partner's triggers. Triggers are defense mechanisms that we've developed to protect us from neglect and violation. They're fear responses that kept us safe as children but often became harmful in our adult relationships as we tend to respond excessively to anything that seems like a similar circumstance. By understanding our triggers, we can stop being controlled by them, and this will help us break that negative cycle and build intimacy instead. Let's first look at what we call the wave. As we grow up, we might have experienced abandonment by a parent or our parents, or they might have gone from loving and responsive to being unresponsive and cold. This could now cause us to feel insecure and anxious. This will often lead to what we would describe as needy behavior, as the person feel uncertain that their needs will be met and they fear losing you. The other side is what we call the island. Children that grow up with parents that are unresponsive or abusive or learn that they simply have to take care of their own needs because nobody else will, they learn to not trust others, so therefore they become self-sufficient and avoidant. These people often lack trust in others and avoid intimacy as they never learn to have an intimate and trusting relationship with their parents. They can often seem to fear intimacy and even push people away. We all have a history that form these attachment patterns, so understanding each other's history and attachment styles allow us to understand and see it for what it really is, rather than being dragged into the drama. Our history has given us some wounds that activate our protective nervous system response, fight, flight, or freeze. These are stored as emotions and bodily memories, meaning that when we are triggered, we relive that past, but it will feel like it's a present moment, causing all these uncomfortable emotions and sensations. Trying to discuss things logically with somebody that's triggered will only fuel the fire. You have to realize when your partner is triggered, the adults have left the room and you're dealing with an old hurt child. If your partner is triggered, you're no longer having a logical conversation, you're having an emotional conversation. And until you address the emotions, nothing will get through. So what are situations or events that might trigger you? When I was a child, I reached out for help at a critical time but was ignored. And because of that, I get triggered if my partner is dismissive, ignore or reject what I'm saying. This comes from my childhood experience of not feeling heard. The attachment mood meant I struggled to trust others to be there for me when I actually needed them. Similarly, I learned I could only count on myself when in danger, so I developed a strong need to feel in control, and when I did not feel in control, I would also get triggered. So ask yourself, what are situations or events that trigger you? Can you see a pattern in these triggers? What is your typical response when triggered? Do you attack or withdraw? Do you freeze? Do you want to be alone or do you want to be together and sort things out? For me, when I felt unheard, I would repeat myself until it was recognized and I got some kind of response. If I felt a loss of control, I would fight back until I felt in control again. It's how my inner child learned to feel safe and protected. What is your typical response when you feel triggered? Knowing this is a great way to know when you're triggered and see if you're stuck in that cycle. What do you feel? Is it anger? Is it sadness? I often feel anger when triggered, but when I sense deeper, I also feel a sadness underneath that anger. What do you sense in your body? Is it a tense stomach, fast heartbeat? I can sense my stomach become really tense and my muscle in my shoulder and jaw will start to tense up too. That is a clear sign that I'm in a triggered state. Our bodily sensations are the first to react to a stress response, so knowing your bodily sensations will really help you catch these triggers early. And then ask yourself, what do you need right now when you're triggered? Do you need space? Do you need a hug? Do you need movement? Do you need to punch a pillow? If I felt unheard, I needed my partner to acknowledge my experience. To find our triggers, start looking for these highly emotional responses such as anger, sadness, when we lash out, blame or attack, or when we withdraw. These reactions and emotions indicate something has been triggered, and it's often old attachment fears of being abandoned, violated, or ignored. Instead of lashing out, we would likely make your partner defensive or withdraw. You can ask for the support you need and be vulnerable instead. That will allow for intimacy instead of disconnect and conflict, and you can actually get your needs met and start to heal. And there's no greater healing power than our close relationships. When you feel calm again, try to fill out an exercise like this, which I often use. The trigger was, whatever it was, on the surface I showed the emotion that you showed, but deep down I felt whatever you felt underneath, which is often sadness. And what I long for was, what is your need? So I can give you a quick example so you have an idea here. Again, think about what experience might have led to that particular trigger. And here's a quick the other exercise that you can do to become more familiar with your triggers. When I get triggered, it could be pushed your way or whatever your action is. I feel, and that's whatever your emotion is. I get triggered when I sense or feel whatever it is that triggers you. On a deeper level, I feel what it is you feel, and I really want and need whatever your need is. And before having these attachment conversations like the one I just gave you an example of, we need a space to release our anger, resentment, and other emotions that will just escalate things and start the cycle over again. And here's some ways you can release your trigger and restore calm before you engage. Number one is physical exercise. Our fight, flight, and freeze response has to be released physically by either fighting or running away from threat. That's what biologically it was designed for. Until you've given it that outlay, it will remain in your body and you'll be in a state of high alert and more likely to keep being re-triggered. While you can't hit someone else, you can hit something, hit a pillow, whatever, your bed, or go run, exercise, move. So get physical. I either dance or punch my boxing bag in the garden to release that adrenaline. If you don't have one, like I said, a pillow will do. Use any physical activities that work best for you, but move, don't be static. Deep breathing. Our breathing really affects our nervous system and either increases or decreases the stress response. That's really important. Fast and shallow breathing increases stress, while deep and slow breathing calms down your body and your mind. So count slowly to 4. As you breathe in and hold it for 1 and then breathe out. Another one that works great when you're calm is journaling to help become clear about your own stories. We interpret the world through stories. So very often when we only have a few facts of something that our partner did, we will interpret it through our stories, our past, and very often that has a negative bias. So it's really important to also dispute your stories, that just because you presume that if they're late they don't respect you, then maybe challenge that and realize that that's your story, but you don't have all the facts. It might not be that they don't respect you. In fact, they probably do, since they're with you and they're your partner. So just be aware of these interpretations of stories that you have. The other one is attachment reassurance, So reassure your partner that you're here and you're not going to leave them, even though you're upset. That will help calm down the nervous system too. So now you calm down and you can go back to your partner and actually resolve the conflict. What we want to know is that our partner will really be there for us when we need them. And you can let them know how much you care about them too, so they calm down. When couples use logic to engage with a triggered partner, it's doomed to fail and often make the trigger worse. The "I'm right and you're wrong" argument will make both parties shut off quickly, and they will feel attacked and threatened, so will fight back. This way everyone loses, hence the saying, do you want to be right or do you want to be happy? Instead, do the release, step into vulnerability, and feel and express yourself in a vulnerable way with I statement, how you feel and what you need, rather than blame. Express your emotions clearly to your partner. That's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, subscribe below and share the video. And don't forget to go to zencenter.com and check out the free webinar. I'll see you soon.